Welcome back to another video here on the channel. If you're watching from our last video, we just put new wheels and tires on our C4 Corvette. We got these really nice 1990 ZR1 style rims on. They look really good, but what I don't like, so they're kind of sunken in quite a bit with the fender. If you take a look at the front, they're indented a little bit too as well, but not nearly as much. They tend to give a lot more flusher look. So I got some spacers to go behind the wheels, obviously, to push those out a little bit. Now I got 1.25 inch spacer because when I measured it, it looked like that would give us a pretty flush line. I looked at these, and now we don't have the Z06 here today, that's already brought over to Lindgren Supercars. But if you compare it side by side, you know, the Z06 sticks out real nice and flush with the fender, and this one is sunken in so far. So I've already put one of them on. Let's go around the other side, we'll take a look at it. I don't know if I like it. I think maybe we're stuck out a little bit too far. Depending on the angle you get at it, I feel like that might be a good 1/2 inch too far. Like I said, we did 1.25 inch spacer, and maybe a 3/4 inch spacer would have been better. But what we're gonna do is we are going to put the other one on, and we're gonna take it for a drive around, see. Remember, the suspension always settles a little bit after you jack it up. Sometimes that changes the way it looks a little bit, so we're gonna do that. First, we're going to talk about spacers real quick, though, because some people want to use spacers, and not all spacers are good. So you've got your spacers that just go behind your wheel, and then however thick your spacer is, that is how much less thread you're going to get on your lug nut. So you really don't want to use these for any kind of serious application, maybe just for a temporary. If you want a good spacer, you've got to get one that is hub-centric. So you don't want your weight of your vehicle to be setting on your lug nuts. You want it to be set on, you've got a hub that it hooks onto, and then you've got a lip like this that your wheel hooks onto, and then your wheel is actually centered on your lug nut, but all of the weight is actually on that hub, and that's what you want when you get a wheel spacer. So we're going to pull this wheel off. Give me just a second. I'm going to set up the jack and stuff, and we'll get it ready, and I'll show you. We'll pull it off. There is another style spacer besides these that I'll talk about once I show you why we would need them, because maybe they wouldn't work on a smaller spacer. So give me just a couple minutes, let me get this jacked up, and we'll start pulling the wheel off, and I will be right back. Alright, we've got the tire off, I've got the lug nuts off already, we've got it jacked up. Now, I just took these off, so they're going to come off pretty easy, but if you're ever pulling off your tire, sometimes the back of your rim will rust a little bit. Good way to get that off, just stand up against the back of the vehicle. Give it a good foot in the top, and it'll pop right loose typically. So our spacer, let's take a look at this other spacer quick though. So if you look at how thick your rim is, and how you've only got about half of this space that you're actually hooking your lug nut on. So if you were to put a spacer like this on, now you're taking out that extra, it's about 1/4 inch I believe. So you're taking out a lot of space that you would be bolted onto, and also this is where you want your hub, this is where you want your rim to hook on there, and you're completely eliminating that with a spacer like this. So these should be avoided for any long-term uses. This, however, is going to look just like the back of your rim. So that's actually going to go right on, and you've got your new hub-centric spot to bolt on for your rim. So that's what you want in a spacer. Now, if you need to go with a smaller spacer and you don't have room to have these nuts on, they do make a spacer that your lug nuts will actually go through on your stock lug. And they'll go all the way through. They'll actually go through the. You got to get different lug nuts. You don't use your same ones, and it will go all the way through your rim and your spacer, so that you still get the same amount of thread. I don't have another set like that, so we're going to give these a try. Like I said, I think these might stick out a little bit too far. We're going to see once we get them all on. But just like your rim does, once it's set on here and it's set on the hub and you've got your lug nuts just started, this is going to be able to move, and that's good. It should. Once your lug nuts should pull that into center, once you put those on. I don't know what the torque specs are on these offhand, but you should probably check what your torque specs are. Torque them the same as you would your lug nuts. I'm actually just going to torque them by feel, because I'm pretty good at that, I feel like. And also, based on the other side, I don't know if I'm going to keep these on. We might just pull them right back off and look for probably like a 3/4 inch rather than an 1.25 inches. Because I'm not sure that I like how far that sticks out. I don't like a wheel that sticks out past the fender. All right. I like how that feels. Easiest way to get your tire back on, especially when you got a big tire like what we have on the truck. Those are pretty hard tires, are heavy to lift up. If you slide your tire right up to where it needs to be, make sure that you're lined up with your lugs, and then use your legs. Kind of get in there, use your legs to brace your arms, lift up, and squeeze your legs, and that'll hold it right up there. There we go. And you can use your legs to hold that in place while you get your lug nuts started. I'm going to use my impact wrench because it's quicker. When you're using an impact wrench to put on your lugs, always make sure you go to your lowest setting. Make sure you're going forward and not reverse. And get it just snugged up. Make sure that it pulls it in center. Then I'll go to my second power setting. Now I know this already from the other side. Typically I wouldn't put them that tight with an impact, but they seem to really suck in a lot once I just snugged them up and I went by hand. I had to crank them a lot by hand, so I never go with my full power setting though because I don't want my lug nuts that tight. So I'll put them on there. They're still actually not that tight. You either want to torque these, or if you're good enough to feel how well they should be torqued. I mentioned before in one of my videos, and I'll say it again just in case you didn't see that one. Once you get those other ones tight, these are loose again. I am going to learn how to edit one day, and then we'll speed up the process of this, and we'll put some fun music in there. But in the meantime, you gotta just deal with it. All right, there we go. We're gonna let our jack down. Slowly, always. This one actually, no, it probably does look about the same as the other side. We're going to take it for a little drive, and we're going to see how they look. Once the suspension settles down a little bit, we'll go around the block, we'll come back, and we'll show you the final, what it looks like, and then we'll decide if we're going to leave them on or not. So we'll be back in a few minutes. We just came back from a little ride around the block. We got everything settled. Now the suspension, you can see, is settled down a little bit more. It doesn't look bad on this one, really. That's pretty nice, about where we want it. I feel like the other side is sticking out just a little bit more. I've seen other people who have done wheel spacers on their C4, and the tires are not exactly, or maybe the hubs aren't exactly the same, symmetric on each side, where one tire will stick out a little bit farther than the other once you have something like the fender to compare it to. So I don't know if we're going to keep these or not. We're going to keep them for the time being. We'll maybe drive a little bit and see. This is really just a cosmetic mod. It doesn't really offer any performance, except maybe our wheelbase now is an extra 1.5 inches, 2 inches wider. So we'll see what happens with those. The Z06 is on the dynos. Got strapped on last night, so we're going to be doing a video tonight. We are going to be doing a dyno run on that, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll probably get that uploaded tomorrow morning. So thanks for watching this video, and if you have any questions or if you have any ideas, make sure you leave them in the comments for me, okay? If you've seen this before and you know what to do to maybe get that sunken in just a little bit, or if you used a spacer that worked good for you, let me know what that is, okay? Thanks for watching, and if you're watching this channel for the first time and you haven't already, and you want to, please subscribe.